Welcome to another edition of the SprintCarUnlimited.com deep dive presented by Dottie's Family Market in Dover, PA. Joining us on the show this week is former Central Pennsylvania sprint car driver Brian Leppo. Before we get to Brian, Dottie's Family Market in Dover, PA is your one-stop shop on the way to the races. They have fresh made sandwiches and subs with all the fixins, perfect for a night at the racetrack. Dottie's has everything you need in one location, including a full-service deli, wide selection of groceries, and gas. If you're looking to dine in, head over to the Hive Coffee House and Cafe for a great sandwich. There's also a seasonal greenhouse on site, and coming soon, Dottie's Crab House, where you can dine in for fresh seafood and all-you-can-eat Maryland crabs. Head over to the corner of Canal and Bull Road in Dover, PA. Dottie's Family Market has you covered. Here's Brian. Brian, welcome to the deep dive. It's a pleasure to have you on.
What did I say when you called, Jeremy? It's a pleasure to be on. I said, what the hell are you calling me for? No, on a serious note, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. And like, my family and I've always been a big supporter of what you got going on for sprint racing. Yeah, I mean, I'm absolutely happy to be with you for sure.
You did ask that. So what are you calling me for?
Yeah, it's okay. Good stuff.
Well, no, and people might have forgotten who you are a little bit. You retired in 2014, but you have a lot of ties in racing. So I want to jump in and kind of take people through your career, what it was. And you started in 358s. You ran 1 year in 2002, I believe. And in 2003, you were up to the 410s right away. And I believe you ran, who did you run for in 2003? It would
have been like it was my parents' stuff. Like my parents, I raced go-karts, never quarter midget, micro sprints, like a trailways, which isn't here anymore, it's a shame. Like a lot of people in our area do, you know what I mean? And then we started running 358s. I became good friends with Seagulls, with Jim and Steve. And then 358s was kind of where we started because I sort of feel like every young kid should start on a 358, whether they're driven or not, just because in Pennsylvania, we can race 358s every weekend. I mean, basically. But then, we ran them for a year because like even Steve Siegel would said, like, if you genuinely want to run 410s, you can qualify every week at Lincoln because like the 358s back then, there was 40 some cars. I mean, it was a challenge to go to the Grove. I mean, you had a Concierge or two sometimes, but yeah, that was my parents' stuff. That was our own stuff. Yep.
And then you started running after 2002. Then I think you ran Bob Stewart's car, the 12 car, the Apple car.
So that was a back, I mean, a lot of people still remember the Apple car. I mean, because it was famous, but for if you're from our area or across the world, I mean, Ed Stauffer, Bob, and Lee, like it was a car that I've always dreamt of being in. But that was in 2005. We drove that thing. I was very young in my career, but like long story short, that was like I won my first race at the Grove in the Apple 12 car, which was kind of like I was like that's pretty speechless. I mean, for a young guy, I mean, I didn't last as long as I wanted it to, but everybody left on good terms. I still consider all those guys. I mean, I see Lee, I see Bob around. Like we stay friends with everybody that we ever cross paths with in racing. But yeah, that was pretty cool. I mean, I always dreamt of winning at the Grove, and I always thought it'd be pretty cool to drive that car and a couple other ones that were pretty iconic to me growing up. But yeah, but that was pretty neat. It was neat.
What was it like winning at Williams Grove? Even now, Williams Grove catches a lot of flack for, I mean, they could have the same race that somebody else has. People, they'll disparage the Grove and the other track will get a pass. But yet when I leave the area, it's the same thing. Who won at Williams Grove? People don't ask me who won at the other tracks. It's who won at Williams Grove. So for a young guy like you, how old were you at that time, and what was it like standing in Victory Lane talking to Bruce Ellis at Williams Grove Speedway?
Yeah, hell, I had to be. I'm 40. I just turned 46 a few weeks ago, or a week. Actually, last Friday. That was 2005. So do the math. 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I was like not a like teenager young, but young enough that. I don't know. Like I was always people laughed at me because I always got emotional. I got overwhelmed with joy. But I mean, like. And Bruce Ellis was the guy. Like I haven't talked to Bruce Ellis in forever. I mean, hopefully he's still doing well. I'm not sure
Oh no,
the,
I talked to him today actually.
okay, good deal. When you tell him like that we said hi, but that was cool. I mean, like Bruce's voice interviewing you, like, and back then, I know there still is crowds at dirt tracks. It just, and I hate saying it because I don't own a track or promote a track, but some races it's just not as full as others because we have I mean, we do have a chance to watch it on TV and the internet now, but the crowd was there, like it was full. And my mother used to sell shirts out the ass. Like we had a good fan base, but like there was people cheering for us. I don't even know who they were, but like to be on the front stretch of the Grove, and if I were 10 years ago, like still like trying to race, and like I guarantee, like you interview that who just won there, Lance, like he won a hell of a race there. I guarantee you he still feels special, and he's won there how many times?
Duh, it's over 100, isn't it?
That's what I guarantee it. When he stands there, he takes it all in because he don't know when you're going to get another one. Like winning at the Grove, it's a special place. I mean, it can be a 20-second Grove, it can be 2 lanes, 3 lanes, but yeah, everybody wants to know who won Williams Grove, and it's always going to be that way. I don't care what people say.
Now you said you wish it would have lasted longer. Didn't Bob Stewart get out of it in and around
Um,
there?
yeah, he did. I feel like after we drove it, Chad Layton drove it
Yeah.
for another year or so, and then Bob definitely he did slow down and hopped out because I actually got back in their car later in my career. It might have been 13 or 14 for a race, just for the
It was
hell of it, maybe a
14.
race 14. And it might have been the same year I drove the 21 car too, maybe. I can't remember. I drove Monte's car. He's out of town just for a weekend too. But yeah, that was pretty much it. But that car there, that was, I mean, that's been around longer than I have been to the races, like the Bob Stewart. I mean, the 12. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I remember Steve Stanball. And
Yeah, I remember Steve Stanball. He was my parents' plumber, like back in the day. Like that's how I knew Steve Stanball. And I was like, holy shit, you're a race car driver. Like then he was our race car driver was a plumber. Like our plumber's race car driver. I mean, like yeah, it was that was pretty cool. And Steve Stanball, like he's one of those guys that gave it all his effort, ran a business, and when he was done, he was done. Like he's still around, but like he
yeah.
did not come to the races. Like I think when he was at that Legends race, he said that was like one of the first races he was at in forever. He just like, and that's the easiest thing to do is when you walk away, you kind of can't go back for a little bit. Because if you're going to be there, you might as well be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, he won titles at the Grove, and then of course
Yeah.
Fred Raymer gets in it, and then it's just takes off, and then Greg
Yeah.
Hodneck gets in it.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
you sat in a seat that Fred Raymer made, I think he definitely took that car to another level. And also
Yeah.
then Greg Hodnett, I mean, he
Yep.
won races at Eldora in that car. So
Yeah.
when you took that over, I mean, you were in your mid 20s, and I had to be some pressure on you.
And I look back on it like it was a lot of pressure. I don't know if it was too much pressure back then. I mean, it might have been because I never was a full-time race car driver. Like I've always had a job, and then like I was had a son on the way. Then he was born in 2006, and it wasn't. It might have been pressure that I didn't know was there because I didn't know what it was like to drive. Like that's when Hodnett left to drive the Hamilton car. Like I literally hopped in a car that there's like professional race car drivers in. Like that didn't dawn on me until I'm like out there and I'm like kind of struggling. Like, and I don't think Lee knew how raw I was. Like the first we went to Speed Week races, I never was at Selinsgrove. I never raced at Big Diamond. Like he took me all these places I've never been to before. I don't think he realized that. He just like we ran good at Lincoln, we ran good at the Grove, and we did run good at Susquehanna. But that's places that I grew up racing at. You know what I mean? And I even think Port Royal. I think he might have been the first time I drove at 410 at Port Royal was in his car.
Whew.
Yeah, which like all those places, like I know their cars faster, but I ain't never seen these places before.
So you're out of that car, and then you get it, you hook up with Floyd Swope.
Yep, we started driving Floyd's car in 2007 after Eric Stamball drove it.
Now, people thought it was yours. I thought it was yours because it had the 71 on it. It looked like
Yeah,
your stuff.
yeah, Floyd was he was a very easy car owner to get along with. Him and his wife Joyce, I started driving for them in '07. We won his first race at the Grove, which happened to be an outlaw race in 2007. He's never won as a car owner there. So that was kind of cool for him and his wife Joyce. She passed away in I think it was 2008, shortly after like I started driving for him. Like, great owners. I mean, Floyd passed away a few years ago. Maybe it was 2000, maybe 13 or so. I can't remember. Maybe it was nah, it might have been a little bit later than that, but he was a good guy to drive for. But like so when I drove for him, he allowed me to bring the 71 because he always had the driver. Remember, Mackeson had a 65 and
Yep.
Eric was a force and Jeff Robo was a 45. But he left us do what we, yeah, I mean, just kind of do our deal. So people did think it was our car, but no, that was Floyd's car. He owned that out of East Berlin, and he was a very easy guy to drive for. Allowed us to run as many races as we wanted to do. And that worked out well. It was a good relationship.
And you won your first, you won your World of Outlaws event in that
Yep.
car. What was that experience like?
That was neat. That was the 2007 summer. Now that was when the Summer National used to be a 3 day. We beat Steve Kinzer. Like that's what like, and like back then, the only time I really competed with Steve Kinzer was on the video game because there was that. That's back when the original sprint car game was out. So that was cool. Like that. Like and again, driving for Floyd was like driving for my parents. Meaning we're not a full-time race car team. It had my guys like Lee Myers worked for us, Keith and Smokey. Like it was just like our friends. You know what I mean? That was a JEI car, which from Barry Jackson, like when he like, but that was cool because like we weren't full time racers and we just won an outlaw race. It was neat. Like that. That was an experience that was yeah, that was cool.
Biggest win of your career?
Probably because it's in the outlaw win I have, but I like we beat the All Stars, which was cool, and another iconic car because I got to drive for John and Pee Wee with Tommy, and that was a cool car to drive with because there was lots of famous names drove Zemco car. And that's my only All-Star win too. But we should have had some more outlaw wins. One, we ran out of fuel. One, Pittman passed us. Um, we always were good with the outlaws. I felt we always timed in pretty good. Even when my father-in-law Steve helped us, we were always good in time. And Dave Yanks helped us for quite some time. But yeah, the outlaw win probably is my biggest one. We did win a Keystone Cup, one at the Grove, one at Tommy Hendershit's at the Grove, won a Keystone Cup at Stevens Grove, and Grandview. Like they were all big wins, but yeah, probably. But see, I hate to sound dumb, but like back then, like 5,000 was a lot of money. You know what I mean? Like that was a lot of money to win. And the National Open, we ran second. Now, if we would have won, it would have been 50. But I think second was only like 12 or $15,000
Oh, it
for the
was
second
bad.
back then. You know what I mean? Like I got the check. I'm like, holy shit. Like, but that's probably one of my biggest races that we didn't win. Like I because that is when Shots won, but we that was CJB car. Like we were fast. Like that was a good night at the races.
Yeah, you and we'll get to that one in a minute. I think after Swope, you ended up in the Zemco car.
So we drove for Floyd through 2011. We ran a race in Pittman's car in 2011 because he was at like the Devil's Bowl race.
Yeah.
And Hefner brought that up here. We ran that one night, which was cool because I mean I always had a good relationship with Mike, and the little guy that used to help him with the mustache. Can't remember his name. Pasquarello, I think it used to be.
Yeah,
It used to be.
Pasquarelli.
Yeah, I remember. Like they were all here for the Saturday. We had a good time. It was, and then we drove. 2012 was for Jesse Keene. That was for the Peterbilt car, and
Yeah,
then
and then you ran Dietz's car.
we did because Jesse passed away in May. Like no, and most people don't know this, Jeremy. I never raced against the World of Outlaws at Lincoln Speedway ever
How does that happen?
because we were supposed to race with him when they came back in 2012, but he had passed away like a week before they were at Lincoln. And then like I remember, I kind of feel like his his service was on the same day that the Outlaws were at Lincoln. I never raced against the Outlaws at Lincoln.
So
It's crazy.
Jesse Keene,
Yep.
obviously an iconic name in sprint car racing in central Pennsylvania. You were his driver.
Yep.
And you've always been one who's you've had pretty good relationships with your owners.
Always did. Yeah. Take pride in that.
Very one of the few guys I don't think I've ever heard you saying bad about an owner. I don't think I've ever heard a owner say a bad thing about you. So how difficult was that time when Jesse when he passed away in May?
It was really devastating as a friend point of view because like I'm still and you're gonna like I'm still friends with Jonesy, the was on their team. I still see Pickles is around, and a guy named Pete Trimble used to be the safety guy, and Brandon, like, and Sushi was on that car. Like, still, I still talk to all those guys. Like, it's not, I'm talking like birthdays. Like, Jonesy just sent me a happy birthday message the other day. Like, I'm friends with it. It was heartbreaking because that man, the little bit that I only really knew him for a few years. I mean, because I started talking to him in 2010, 11, and I knew who he was, but like when he rode like with Randy Wolf and all that back in the
Sure.
day, but I didn't know Jesse. I didn't have any reason to until like I realized, hey, there's an opportunity to drive his car there. And we like we liked each other. I mean, he met my family, I met his family, he's a good guy. But he worked his whole life, and then he, like, most people don't know, like he was working on like retiring that year. Like he retired, I want to say like the end of 2011, and was like kind of getting ready to sell out of his shares as an ownership because he wanted to race cars. Like we had like 70 or 80 races scheduled that year. And that's what he wanted to do. Like he wanted to retire. And then hell, he's checking the weather before the Grove one night, and he died of a massive heart attack. Like it was heartbreaking for his race team who has been friends with him forever. Like I'm just the new guy there. Has really only been kind of hanging around for a few months, but he treated me like I've been driving for him for years. He's a great car owner driver. I talk to him every day. But yeah, that was like took the wind out of your sail. Like I remember the Friday night, like we were there. It was a time trial show. I remember it, like specifically remember it. And then I think Pete Trimble, he was the safety guy for King, came in and said that Jesse had passed away, and it got dark, like really dark at the races, like rain out dark. We ran hot laps, time trial, terrible, and it poured down rain. The races were canceled. Like he was not going to have that race be raced. Like that was it. Like the word spread that we lost Jesse. The races are canceled. We leave, and then that was it. They decided to park the car, which is a family. We
Sure.
sat down. We sat down with Sean, and like that was best for the family. It makes no sense to continue when it was their dad's business. But yeah, it was heartbreaking. I mean, it really was. It was for me. Like I was there as a driver, but like I said, for his family and friends, like I couldn't imagine like that he was I have his picture on my wall here. I'm thankful to have it. I still have his business card he gave me the first time I met him. But yeah, he was a great guy. Great guy, good for the sport. Loved his race car. Like he was I would use a guy like Gary Kaufman take such pride in his car.
Yeah. I
That's
would say they're pretty, yeah.
yeah, like a
Yep.
little bit of Weichert in the both of them. Like this
Right.
is like my car is the best one here. Like you don't think it is tough shit. Like yeah, good guy to drive for. Definitely a good guy to have on your side.
Welcome to another edition of the SprintCarUnlimited.com live show. Thank you to everyone who's already logged into the chat, the future callers, and everything else. So we're going to dive right in, get started. I appreciate producer Eric getting everything squared away. We got a new microphone, so hopefully that works. We used it the other day, and it seemed to be okay. So let's start firing away. Cale Thomas looking good with 2 wins. Thriller at Attica last week. That track just keeps producing good races. And Cale Thomas looking good. Now, the key is and I'll say this about Danny Dietrich, continuing it. Is this kind of a turnaround or going to get hot for Cale Thomas? It's been, a little out of a year, not in the 49X anymore. We'll see if it continues this week and into next week. Wu was absolutely incompetent on Friday night. Everyone on the property knew an hour and a half ahead of time that the rain was coming down from the north, and the program needed to be sped up to get it in. I've heard this from people who were there. You could see it when you were watching the broadcast. You could see some of the videos I've seen. You could see it coming. Got to pick up the pace. I don't disagree. I don't know what the radar was showing, though. I didn't look, unfortunately. I got to go by what people are saying there. But I don't know what the radar looked like. I mean, admittedly. But yeah, when you know rain's coming, you've got to speed it up. The main goal should be getting to halfway. Obviously, you want to get the whole show in. You want to get the whole main event in. But sometimes that isn't doable. I think one of the surprises to me was how good the track was once they did get back to racing after, I think, about 2.5 hour delay. But if that was the case, if everybody knew it was coming, it was on the radar, you got to speed that up. You got to do whatever you can do to get it in, get it done. Why do Wu and High Limit make their teams travel all the way to the West Coast, then make their teams travel straight back to the East Coast for racing the next weekend? Why don't they schedule racing in a couple of states on the way back over on consecutive weekends to break up the travel? Would make it a little easier on the teams bringing the sprint car transporters back. I think it's just scheduling. It's the problem is with whether it's High Limit or the World of Outlaws, there's core events that are on the schedule every year. Kings Royal, Knoxville Nationals, Williams Grove National Open. For High Limit, you have to add the Gold Cup, Skagit Nationals. Tuscarora 50 is a high limit race. You can't move those. So you're going to have a bad situation somewhere. I know the Outlaws didn't want to give up the West Coast swing this year. The only place they could jam it in was right before the National Open. It was just something they couldn't avoid. There's no time to schedule races on the way back. They got to get on the road. You can't have them stop. So that week you definitely can't do. But this sport is now like tennis and golf in that it's built around the majors. And sometimes teams are going to need to be inconvenienced if you want to have those big shows on your schedule. You can't move the Gold Cup, can't move the Skagit Nationals. For the Outlaws, you want to go to California, considering High Limits there, you're not going to go there when High Limits there. You have to go there afterward. And if you're going to make it worthwhile by having 2 weekends out in California, 3 weekends, then it's going to be pressed up against the National Open. And that's unfortunately what teams are going to have to do. There's no easy or good way to do it. This scheduling is difficult for those 2 series because you're trying to avoid each other and you have those staples on the schedule that you can't avoid. So there's really nothing they can do about it. And keep in mind, too, you're working with the racetracks. The racetracks, too, that's a third party or a second party. It's really difficult. The feature at the Grove last week was one of the races of the year. Danny Dietrich drove out of his skin to track Chase down. Great to watch. Tired of seeing people run the Grove down. Sure, it has some bad races, but it's a different kind of racing there where patience is rewarded and nothing beats the sight of seeing those cars blast under the bridge. Port might be my favorite track, but the Grove is special and it's unique, and I'll always love it. I like the Grove. It's kind of a staple on my schedule most weeks, unless I'm out of town. Blasting under the bridge, you got to remember the traditionalists, that's getting old. I hate to say it, so that's not enough anymore. People, when they pay a certain price, they want to see a good race. And the Grove has not always produced that this year. It's kind of been in spurts. You had the Rumsey Chase Dietz race. You had the Speed Week race there for the Mitch Smith was really good. And yes, last week was good. The track surface was better. They worked on it and changed it a little bit leading up to last week's show. Let's hope it just sticks. But they've had some problems with their racing, and looks like maybe, crossing fingers that maybe they fixed it, and we'll see how it goes from here on out. So much downtime at the Grove. Yeah, I don't know the deal with getting started so late last week. I wasn't there, and I had my daughter for her birthday, and quite honestly, I'm glad I wasn't there. I would have been going nuts starting heat races after 9:00. Sorry. The baseball game doesn't stop in the third inning and they just sit around. Football game doesn't do that either. So it's the entertainment business. So you got to be aware of that. Agreed. Too much downtime. In my opinion, out of all the local tracks, Lincoln's the one I am worried about crowd for weekly shows, but still root for them to be successful despite recent business mistakes. I don't know if they're in trouble. You got three guys running it who are pretty well off, but yes, they do have some problems. Crowds have been down there. I heard the motocross thing. They called it arena cross, but it's not an arena, so it can't be arena cross. Their motocross deal last week, I think, did okay from what people told me, so that's good. But they got to work on their weekly programs. And honestly, their schedule just has no meat to it. I'll be honest, the schedule's not that good. You have an outlaw show, and then you have your two speed week events, and then they're off for a month. They've been out, as far as sprint car racing, off for a month. That's the problem. One of the problems with the PA Posse series. If you catch some rain that bangs out some shows, that's not good. And then the weekly stuff they do, those Wednesday shows, those aren't going to be good. And it's just, they got to work on their schedule. And I would say if you're concerned about the weekly stuff, I think there's reason to be. It surprises me Knoxville finishes their weekly racing straight after the Nationals. Why not capitalize on the momentum of the Nationals and continue their weekly racing to at least the end of, I assume you'll say, September? They still might see bigger crowds. The weather is still good. They could start the season a month later while it's still cold and the chance of rain is still high in the spring. It's football. Bottom line, it's football. You're going up against Iowa and Iowa State. I mean, the crowds around here dip in Pennsylvania. They are deathly, high school football, you have Penn State, but out there, Iowa State and Iowa, that's who Knoxville's going up against. They do have a race this week, and then they have the late model deal in September. I don't blame them for not doing it because they know when they're going to take a hit. And their weekly stuff really doesn't do that great. The Nationals is huge. And I just think they view it, we're not going to go up against football. Reason for late start at Williams Grove, Ray was watering heavy because of sunny and windy conditions. But then the sun went behind the clouds and the wind died. At this point, we had too much water and took longer to run in. I don't care. Doesn't matter. Fans don't care. Get it done. And I know that sounds harsh. That might not sound good. Fans don't care. If I would have came on an hour late because I was making dinner, fans aren't going to care. It's just, you can't do that. You've got to be on your game better. It's just the way it is. And this isn't the first time. It happened for, I believe it was the All-Star show. That took forever. There's been a couple times, you know, there's been a couple times when they've done this. And I know you just said you can't control the weather. No, you can't. But again, it didn't rain. People don't, I'm just telling you what, fans don't care. They want it done. You get a pass if it's raining. You don't get a pass for overwatering. You just don't. And you can talk to other people who do the track, and they will tell you the same thing. Yes, it sucks. And yes, you're in an unwinnable situation sometimes. I'm not saying it wasn't legit. I'm saying people don't want to hear it. I don't care either way. But I know fans really get upset by it. It shows in the crowds. I'm sorry, and that's too bad. And I get it. I understand it. But people don't want to hear overwatering, even if it was for good intentions. I live in Iowa and can confirm Iowa State may as well be the Chiefs or the Bears. Yeah, it's just not ideal to run against two college football programs like that in a state. What's the population of Iowa? I know it's not 12.2 million like it is in PA. So you're just scrapping for fans, and that doesn't work. So I can understand why they don't run into September. Big 3-day weekend this week should be fun. Okay, 3-day week, 3 race week. Where? Got to be specific. I know the Outlaws have 3 days through North Dakota. Obviously, High Limit has Thursday through Friday or Thursday through Saturday. Gold Cup, PA has a couple nights. So I would assume a Sealands Grove run on Sunday. Actually, if you want to, it's Thursday through Sunday. You're going to have sprint car race. Actually, Wednesday through Sunday, because you have the 360 show at Silver Dollar as well. So Sealands Grove does run on Sunday. But I would say you have options for sprint car racing Wednesday through Sunday. That's pretty good. 3,190,369 is the population of Iowa. It's 9 million more here, roughly. You're battling for the fan, and you're going to lose out to college football. That's just a fact. Hey, Jeremy, any update on Macri? Is he definitely on track to be back the National Open? That's up in the air. I think that's yet to be determined. It's 6 to 12 weeks for a clavicle / collarbone. I don't think we'll know until the week or two before. I do understand his pain level isn't as high as it was, which is good, but we won't know. Casey Jedrzejek with solid runs this past weekend, at one point in the top 5 and another quick time. I like Casey Jedrzejek. I think he's fared well in the Bill Rose car. I hope he brings him back. I know he was a little rough there through the summer months. And then, of course, he got hurt, and that's never good. But I like what he's done, and I'm hoping he's back next year. I'm hoping he's back next year in that car. He surprised me. I like what I see. Think any teams will switch tours next year? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know who would go. It seems like the guys who run the World of Outlaws are, they talk about the tradition, the World of Outlaws brand. They want to win a World of Outlaws title. High limit guys, I think they like the newness. I think they like the direction or the different direction they're going. The only people who I could see switching are on the back end of both orders because they're just not faring well in that particular series. Other than that, though, I don't know who would switch. Not as of now. I could see somebody leaving a tour and doing an open or true outlaw schedule, but I don't think switching tours. Would high limit points format make the outlaws better? They do have a bigger gap. So yeah, I think the outlaw format is very, I mean, it's just not many points per position. There is a bigger gap between first and second with high limit. I mean, it's not overly different, but I also think as long as there's not a split field, it's full points for high limit. I do think the Outlaws should go to that. If you rate like the dumbest one is the beginning of the year. The first race of the year not being points is just dumb. There's no reason that shouldn't be points. So I think, yeah, I mean, anytime you put a bigger gap between your points, that would be a good thing. Conor Morell has his tire specialist himself and whomever shows up to help. I don't think we see him return to Woo next year. I think that could depend on Tub of Towels. I think that's a sponsor-driven deal. I think if they want to see him out there, he'll be out there. If not, if he has sponsorship issues, that will be the difference. I don't disagree. Again, I had this discussion today with somebody. There's certain guys I'd like to see run a regional tour, cut their teeth, learn to race better, stop getting your head kicked in and running 15th. And he would be one of those guys. I'd like to see him run the All-Stars full-time. I'd like to see him run IRA or Power I full-time. Build up to a national series. But I think that one's going to depend on Tub of Towels. Can they make front wing adjustable up down for dirty air? They're not going to do that. Again, you're asking teams to spend more money. I don't think that's the right direction to take right now. Teams are really kind of upset about having to spend more money for whatever new safety or new gizmo comes along to put on their cars. I just don't think that's the right direction to go. Any updates on Crouch? That was a nasty hit. It looked like he was unconscious in the car for a second. I hope his arm isn't shattered based on all the pictures out there. Yeah, it was a hellacious crash. It wasn't his fault. Just came in late, nowhere to go. I think he got lucky. I think the safety things on that car benefited Crouch a great deal, talking to the team afterward. Hopefully he returns with no problems. I don't know how long that's going to be. I mean, see, he'll be out for the year. I don't think he'll be back this season. And we'll see what happens for next year. If Macri didn't get hurt this season and Danny was fast all season, how many wins do you think Chase Dietz would have right now? Well, that's a lot of shoulda, coulda, woulda. I mean, I think Dietz would still be in double digits. I think he's been fast. That team's really good, and I think they keep working on things to make it better. They don't just sit around and they're always looking to get better. I still think he'd be double digits, but that's a lot of shoulda, coulda, woulda. And how fast does Danny have to get? And then Anthony on the road, or whether he's back in PA. That's way too much revisionist history. Hey, fellas, keep up the good work. Hit the like button. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thoughts on the Outlaws heading back to Bella Claire? Bella Claire? I do you mean Belleville? Is that Bella Claire? Is it Belleville? I have to be a little more specific. That's an Eric. That's an Eric the producer question. He might be changing it as we speak. Woody Allen is set for historic Bella Claire Fairgrounds Park Speedway debut on October 17th. I didn't even look at the schedule. I know they're in Ohio. I must have missed that one on the schedule. I have no idea. I'm more concerned about the Belleville. Place is a little too fast, in my opinion. Attaboy to Brent Shearer on two top tens this weekend. Yeah, it looked good. Timed well. Shearer always times well, so that doesn't surprise me. Bella Claire in Illinois. Yeah, I don't. I know Chaz said, wow, that's a big deal. I don't live in the Midwest. Doesn't mean I don't know tracks. It's just Bella Claire, sorry, didn't look that far ahead at it. Didn't memorize the Outlaws schedule. It didn't blow up my skirt enough to think it wasn't okay. To me, if the Gold Cup feels like the most wide open 100,000 to win race of the year with no day in the field, Rico struggled last year. Reitzel has only been there once. Add in championship points, oh boy. I did a 90 at 9 on High Limit today in their point chase. I don't think it propels them above the Outlaws. I think that and again, I'm done with the comparing the two. I'm done with that because both sides can win anytime. But I think the point battle is really interesting. And now with Gold Cup, everybody racing each night and these all point races, I think it adds to the Gold Cup. And now I will say, Chase, Rico struggling last year doesn't mean anything because at some point he's going to do what he does, which is going to come out and rattle off some wins. That's what he does. So I think it's wide open. And yes, Day's really good there and I'm not going to say he'd stink it up, but I wouldn't say Rico struggling matters that much because just like a Dirt Cup, he went to Skagit and it was terrible. It wasn't good. And that's a place he dominated the year before. So I don't think that matters, but I do think it's wide open. I think Brent Marks is getting better at Chico. You didn't mention him. I think Brent Marks is a guy you're going to have to watch there. I think Tyler Courtney. I think there's a lot of guys there. Tanner Thorson runs well there. So you got a lot of guys in the mix. I don't disagree with you. And I think the points add to that. I hate point chases, and this is the first point chase I'm actually interested in. Seems like at Tulare, we saw Reitzel points racing for the first time ever. Rico was having a bad night, and I don't think he wanted to be bouncing off the wall like Day and Brooks. And I don't blame him. Aaron Reitzel quietly has 18 top 5 finishes with the series, and that's the most. I think it's smart to point race. When Lauda was on the show the other night, when we did our race day live show, we talked about what do you want in a driver? You want a driver who's going to go for the win, but who also knows the limits of his car and doesn't wad it up or doesn't take unnecessary chances. Aaron Reitzel absolutely did the right thing at Thunderbolt or Tulare, whatever you want to call it. Absolutely the right thing and smart. It was smart racing. Jackson Motorplex is awesome facility. I understand why Todd had all his big races at Huset's, but to only have the Woo there once a year is a waste. Yes and no, because it hasn't always raced well. We saw a great race there on Saturday night. And yes, nice facility. But it isn't always supported the best in that neck of the woods. And I've talked to Todd about this. And also, it doesn't always produce that racing. That's not an every race thing. They nailed the track. They did a great job. Maybe you see another race there next year because of that event and how it went on Saturday, but it doesn't race like that all the time. Could the fastest 5 days of motorsports and or Skagit Dirt Cup become World of Outlaws events in 2027 or 2028? My pick, unlikely, but never say never. No, I do not think with Rudine entrenched in high limit, I don't think that that's going to happen unless you mean a high limit event. I think the Dirt Cup very well could become a high limit event, but it won't become a World of Outlaws event. No way. Could see it becoming a high limit race, though. Now it's time for Port Lincoln and Path Valley to get off the shelf. Don't know what you mean. Don't know what you mean. I thought the Grove race last week was good. Hard Charger winning is something you don't see often. Grove did a great job last week. I know they fixed the shelf or made some changes to the surface. High marks. Look good. Dietrich came from 8th. It was racy. You could run multiple grooves. It's what I would say the old Grove was. So I know I bagged on them for the time last week, but they did a good job with the surface. So it's, two things can be true at once. They did a good job. And I hope when I roll in there this week, I hope to see the same thing. 360 at Port Royal, and 2 laps later, they threw a caution. Do you do better? Yeah, the 360 rule seems to be the big problem in sprint car racing. To me, it's an automatic yellow right away. Guy goes to the back. That's it. You can't do judgment calls anymore. It's not possible. We can't get it right. We can't have nice things. So 360, yellow right away, go to the back. That's it. Poor Danny Dietrich was so disappointed Jeremy wasn't at the Grove to do the winners interview, so he had to win again at Port. I had my daughter. She took precedent this week. Plus, I was coming off Knoxville. It was really okay. I don't know who to pick for Gold Cup. Justin Sanders maybe has been second 3 times, 2 of them to Corey Day. My only concern with Sanders, he didn't have speed last week. I don't know why. I didn't talk to anybody out there about it. So that would concern me a little bit, but he's good. He's good at Chico. I think Landon Brooks, can Landon Brooks duplicate last weekend and be in contention? That was one of the biggest surprises of the week, especially with the way his season has gone. Maybe it's Landon Brooks. I do think the California guys have looked pretty good against the high limit guys, especially at Placerville. It's a different type of racing, and I don't think all those guys are necessarily good at places like that. So we'll see. I'm anxious for Chico. I'll be watching all 3 nights, whether I'm at a race or not, which I'll be at the races Friday, Saturday this week. Over under 1.75 season for Sheldon to pass his dad on the Woo all-time win list. If he keeps rolling, be quicker. That team looks really, really good. And you have to wonder, is it the Maxim with the Morrison? It's a combination that Sheldon never had before. He's racing smarter. I think Yeah, he's still aggressive and he's on the edge sometimes, but it just seems more controlled. It just seems like he's he just looks better. He's being smarter, more consistent. Again, taking what the car will give him, and he's third in points, right behind Buddy Kofoid. I'm really impressed with Sheldon, and actually, maybe one of maybe the comeback story of the year, and also one of the better stories of the year overall is the performance of Sheldon Haudenschild. Is Kevin now still running things at the Grove? He is still at the Grove. I think he has another gig where sometimes, some weeks he's not there. I don't know if it's in NASCAR or what, but he is still at the Grove. Far as I know. Big Diamond won't run against high school football. They always end Labor Day Sunday. It's tough to run against high school football in Pennsylvania. You will lose unless you're running the National Open every week or it's the Tuscarora 50. It has to be a big sanctioned show. Weekly shows, they just don't do well against high school football. And then you add Penn State to the mix on a Saturday. Not ideal. Casey Kane is the biggest performance shift in potentially the history of sprint car racing. Look, the Nationals, I don't know what happened. I said last week's show, I don't know what happened. And he used two different motors out there. I was not wrong when I said Donna. He used a Capetta and an Ott. So, because I believe he used an Ott at front row. But he has only run 18 races going into last weekend. So you want a bigger sample size, obviously, to say potentially the biggest performance shift, because he had a great Knoxville and he had a great Outlaw weekend in May. But he still's only run 18 shows before last weekend, and he did nothing last weekend. So I'm not going to go biggest in history. I know a lot of history back to 1984, and there's been other guys who have done such things. Will on line one. Will, how are you?
Pretty good. I think I saw something. I'm not sure I'm going to get your opinion on it that I hadn't seen in a long time. At Placerville, Rico came to, I'm going to say he came to a complete stop. The car that was next to him also crashed or caught up in the accident, actually started his car again. And then Dominic Scelzi flipped in turn one. Is that all the same scene?
I believe so. I have to remember back.
But it was just, it's one of those things you don't see. And I believe he came to a stop.
Yeah.
And then got hit and then started again. And they ended up calling the red. That superseded the yellow.
Right.
With the red.
Right.
And Dominic Scelzi got charged with it.
I've seen that happen before. It's kind of a bang bang thing, and we're watching on. There's officials in the corners, and you hope they're listening to motors shutting. Again, I'm not going to get. I mean, Rico didn't exactly have a great swing out there so far. It happens. I've seen that before.
Yeah, talking about the race so far, I was really disappointed in Caleb Montgomery. He got, I don't know, he wasn't driving past his front wheels or something because he ran into a car that was slowed down for the caution, but things happen really quick out there. I'm no driver by any means. But so far it's been, without the NASCAR infiltration, it's been, the same amount. You've had California cars on the podium, and you've had the high limit regulars on the podium.
It's been a good mix, but I don't expect anything less out in California. The tracks are different. These guys, they don't see a lot of that stuff. And now Corey Day is excellent at Tulare. If you beat him at Tulare, it's like beating gravel at Weedsport. It's incredible. Or beating Buddy at Huset's. So I think it's been good, and there's been surprises. Landon Brooks, huge surprise last weekend. Looked really, really good.
So, well, I think you've talked about him before earlier this year. Yeah. He was one of the guys that had some good results, and I totally agree. He's, he's doing very well. Hopefully, it'll continue at Chico.
Well, I mean, you don't want it to be a one weekend thing. You're always looking. I'm looking for consistent performances, not a shot in the dark, not one weekend here, one weekend there. I want to see consistency. And, I'll tell you, the pressure's on Caleb Montgomery. Look, he's running for Paul Silva. That car runs well most of the time with whoever's in it. Caleb Montgomery, this is his shot. And last week was not an overly good performance. Now, you could say, well, it's getting used to, that's fine. But he gets his shot this week at Gold Cup. And this is what people wanted. Well, the problem is sometimes when you get it, you've got to perform. And last week wasn't good. So I think there's a lot of storylines going into the Gold Cup this week. It's something that I'm probably going to put on the website tomorrow at some point or early Thursday is the storylines heading into to that event. I think it could be a really good 3-day show.
Yeah, I think the locals, like you said, I'm really surprised in Rico's performance, but he's been, especially the tracks he's been to, but that's a different tire, different chassis, different engine situation. And I know you've commented on it, and you say there's no worry that you're not worried. Worried.
Not worried.
Yeah.
Well, why would I be? Because he's done it every year.
It goes along with not being consistent.
But he goes through this every year. Go look at last year.
Yeah.
Same thing. And when he comes out of it, he explodes. Like he could sweep the Gold Cup. If he swept the Gold Cup, I'd be like, oh, okay, he's out of it. He's out of the woods.
Yeah.
It's Rico and that team with Ricky Warner, who is out on the West Coast. I think at any time he could go to Skagit. He could have a bad week this week, go to Skagit and boat race everyone. That's how Rico is. Rico can pile up wins. Now this year it hasn't been quite as good. I think Aaron Reitzel's going to get the $50,000 bonus that no one talks about for winning the most races with high limit. But I do think Rico's still in the hunt for the title. I'm not overly concerned just yet. If he goes through California, the Gold Cup and Skagit Nationals, and looks like last week, then I'll be more concerned because he hasn't been qualifying well, and that's a problem.
Yeah, that's totally right.
So,
well, thanks for taking my call, and we'll give you a holler next week after Gold Cup.
All right, good deal. Thanks, Will. I appreciate it. All right, we got a lot of questions coming in here. Who else has shifted from field filler his entire career to National Series threat? You're taking it way too far. You do this a lot, Chaz. You latch on to one performance, one night, and make it look like the whole shift has happened. That hasn't happened here. Look, Casey Kane's a great story. What he did at the Nationals, great story. Beating the World of Outlaws, again, great story. But a shift? I mean, Where did he finish last week? I'll tell you where he finished last week, since you asked. He finished 28th and 26th and 15th. His average finish this year is 11.2. Don't take it too far. I could make the argument TJ Stutz is a perfect example. TJ Stutz beats the Outlaws at Williams Grove in the same fashion that Casey did it. And look, I think it's great that Casey did well. I wrote a story about it. I think Casey, again, two things can be true at once. Just don't get carried away with it. Casey found a package he likes in the 39M. He's bringing it over to the 4-car. I would say Casey probably faster than he's been in however long. If you want to go back to when he won the opener at the Grove, whatever it is. And I think they're trying to dial in that package. But I think it's unfair to say he's totally shifted his career. Great story. I wish him the best, and I hope to see him running up front. I'm actually anxious to see him how he does at Skagit. That's where I think he can have another good run. But you're saying change his trajectory. That's a bit steep. It's just a bit steep. Kane's last 3 races, 15th, B race, and 26th. That's what I mean. That doesn't mean what he's doing, he isn't headed in the right direction. But he hasn't shifted his whole career, and now he's going to start winning races. He's working on the package. He talked about it at Knoxville. He had a certain feel in that 39M, and he's trying to duplicate it. Mikey Kemper's helping him out, and he feels they're getting closer. Now, I have to wonder, here's something to think about, whether it's Chaz or anyone else. Placerville's small. Thunderbolt, small. Santa Maria, not exactly a huge track either. 39M, good everywhere, but really good on big stuff. Casey Kane wins at the Grove. Look good at Knoxville. Big tracks. So I don't know if Kane has that right feel yet, like the 39M has, because Joe Mooney's one of the best crew chiefs in the country. No doubt. No doubt. But he's got to get that feel on the smaller tracks that he has at Knoxville or the Grove or whatever. So it's going to be interesting to see how it develops, but I'm not going to get carried away with it either. That's just unfair. Could we see Kane back in the 39M for the Tusky 50? I don't think so. He's going to run the West Coast. I don't think – I would be surprised by that. I don't think so. I got to go by a Dane breeder in North Carolina to have a new puppy to Lynn and Barry. Anything you need delivered to PA, I do not. I'm good. Unless there's a Buc-ee's. Is Pursley at risk for losing the 9 ride? I hear this every week. I think there could be a change there. I don't know. That's tough to say. Casey's known for sticking with guys. He's known for sticking with them. And 1 year, is that enough? I could see Casey running it back. Huset's doesn't care about football season. They have ended their program on Labor Day since the beginning of time. Well, that's fine and dandy, but I didn't know Huset's was the question. It was Knoxville. And Huset's isn't in Iowa. What's the excuse for yet another non-points race for Woo? This time it's Huset's final night. Again, if you keep taking these point races away, it hurts your point chase. I don't know. Just Just run it. Who cares if it's a different format? If the same guys are running, if all your series regulars are running, just count the points. We're past this. With Day and Larson done for the season, is Sheldon at the top of the current sprint car power rankings? I got to do that. I wanted to do a rankings. If I had to do it right now, he's had a good 26-week run. I think it's 7 wins and 16 top fives, and he's only been out of the top 10 twice. Alex Neaton put something out today about that. I'd probably put him second. Right now, I'd probably put Sheldon Haudenschild second in the country. I still got to give David the nod. He keeps stretching the point lead. It's 180. I know wins matter, but they're racing against each other, and Gravel's still up by 180 points. And he stretched it. He stretched it. I just don't. It's hard to take Gravel out of that spot. Morrell showed up at the IRA race on Sunday and did absolutely nothing. Won't even fit in that series. I do know he's short on motors. I know that is a major problem for that team right now. You're going to have nights like that. I think he would fit fine in that series. Again, it's one race. Steve Kinzer lost races. Didn't even win 50%. We got to keep that in mind. Kyle Larson wins about 30-some% of his races in a sprint car. We have to remember that. Morrell, Sams, Randall, Baylog, Cy, Crouch all need to come off tour respectfully. I'd like to see him run regional series. Baylog's okay. He's having a bad year. He's had a lot of off-track stuff. I'm not going to stick Baylog with that group. I think the other guys could benefit from running a regional series and then moving up. What's the deal with the 27H? Just haven't been out. They run a part-time schedule, and I don't think Lucius is in it. And I don't think they have a driver right now. Jazz Power Rankings, Gravel, Kane, Holmes, Thorson, and Walker. That's bad. Brian Paulus helped us and Morrell at a handful of shows last year, including finals. Good kid, just in a bad spot with BRR. I'm not going to disagree. Let's leave it at that. Will Kane be in your top 25 ranking? I don't know if he has a number of races. He's 18 and then he ran 3 this weekend, so he gets to 21. Yeah, he'll crack that. Fringe. I'll have to look deeper into it. His Knoxville Nationals performance was a really good week. Fringe, but probably not. I think all sanctioned shows should be for points. Otherwise, don't sanction it. Fair point. What are the odds Gio wins high limit? Love what the guy has been doing. I don't think he wins the title. He's got to win a couple more races, and I just don't think the team's there yet. But I like what he's done too. He's the most consistent driver as far as top 10s with the series at 29. He has 15 top 5s, which is 3 behind Aaron Reitzel. Just doesn't have the wins. I think this year you could look at what they're doing as a success. Because here again, I'll go back to the conversation with Saturday. Gio knows what that car can do, and he knows what car he has on a given night. Don't ball it up. Don't get in a situation where you're bringing it back to the trailer in a heat. Get the most out of the car that you can. If you're going to finish fourth, finish fourth. Don't wad it up trying to finish third. That's dumb. It's going to cost more money than you're going to earn from one position to the other. And I'd rather win a championship. Sorry, unless it's a crown jewel, I'd rather win a championship. And I think Gio's on the right path. And it's the old Greg Hodnett theory, which is get what you can, know what your car can do, and how far you and realize the position you're racing for. Any chance you would consider coming up to Oswego in Canada at some point for the Woo or our Northern Sprint Car Nationals in September? September's tough because there's races around here, but I would consider it. I would consider going to Oswego. A few weeks ago, Woo started providing radios to drivers to keep cars from stopping in turn 4. Kofoid stopped for loose belts at Jackson, and Woo sent him to the back. Any info on this? I do not. I was actually at Port Royal while this was going on, and I was on the live deal back. They didn't even really mention it. I couldn't have the sound on anyway because obviously you can't do that. But somebody just said that Kofoid was late to the starting grid. You go to the back for that. Any rumblings on tires? Teams are spending money on tire compression testing because the tires are so inconsistent. Yes, tire smashers are a thing. They're about $5,000. And I guess it's like measuring the spring rate of a tire, the consistency of the tire. Other than that, I don't know. I think we're going to have some interesting tire stuff in the future here. We'll see how it goes before I start talking about it. Is Stamen acquiring HP and Tim running the shop? Per his recent interview, sounds that way. I wrote a story on this at Eldora. Yes, he has purchased HP. Tim is running the shop. And I do know they're looking for employees. He's looking to get more employees to build these engines. Skagit owner says he wants to improve 410 racing on the West Coast. Then he schedules a race at his track on Gold Cup weekend, keeps Washington drivers away. I know he ran his last 410 race before Skagit Nationals last week. I believe it's a 360 race. I don't know where I come out on this. I don't think those guys would come down anyway. I think you get one or two. I don't think it's enough not to schedule a race. Trey Starks is not coming down. He has a newborn. I think guys are waiting till the Skagit Nationals. It's $126,000, and now it's $26,000 for Friday, $10,000 for Thursday. I don't think they were coming down anyway. Maybe Levi Hillier, maybe. But at that rate, he could come down anyway. It's a 360 race. If you can't blow off a 360 race what are we doing here? I don't think that's a big deal. By the way, what's the distance from Skagit to Silver Dollar? Outlaw win at the Grove in the 39M and third at the Nationals in a different car. How's that not a top 25 ranking? Enjoy the show every Tuesday. Thank you. I can't base something on 2 races. It's 2 races. It's got to be in totality. I don't just take 2 races when I do rankings. I do the overall body of work for the year. About 10 hours. There you go. I just don't think guys are going to travel 10 hours. It's a 360 race. If they want to come, they'll come. Thinking about but not certain. Open to try to do the Dirt Car Nationals for sprint cars in February. Any tips if I go? It's a good event. You get 4 days of racing. That's the best part. The weather's usually good. You don't usually, if you do get a rain out, it's 1 day. I've never been down there where there's been multiple days. I'm not saying it didn't happen. The weather's usually good. The crowd's usually good. If you get a chance to go to the beach, if you want to go to the beach, I'd stay in Ormond Beach. It has plenty of dining options, and you have Daytona up the road. You could tour Daytona International Speedway. It's just a lot to do in that area. But I would say that's a good event to catch to kick off your year. It's nice seeing Lucas having some good runs in the 39. Yes, it was. It was good to see him set quick time in his group and then start on the pole. He ended up 9th, I believe, 8th or 9th. But still, crawl before you walk, and seems like they're making at least some gains on that car. Is Sweet racing at Gold Cup? Not that I know of. Gio positioned himself to steal the quietest national touring title of all time. I would agree with that sentiment. If he would win it, it would definitely be quiet. It'd be an old kind of Matt Kenseth NASCAR title where he doesn't win a lot of races, but he just consistency to death. So I'm interested to see. I'm interested to see how this goes the rest of the year and where he ends up. Rumor has it American Racer testing going on this weekend. I don't know of one this weekend, but there might be one another weekend. Dirt Car Nationals, the modified portion of the show is painful. Yeah, that's true. Good point. You have to deal with the modified deal. If you can deal with that, it's good. They still get done at a reasonable time, though. They do push it through. I'll give them credit for that. IRA has a big show at Jackson. Is it the Jackson Nationals, I believe? Good for them. I like that series. I think Steve Sinclair does a good job. And talking to him as much as I do, he always has a good pulse of what's going on in the sport. So, no, I don't mind IRA at all. I like IRA. Car count is a little down this year for Gold Cup, under 50 cars so far. I think that's okay. I don't think that's a big deal. I think if you get in the 40s, you're fine. They're running each night. You're going to get 40 some cars each night. I think you're getting the big guys. So I think that's good. The one-day Jackson show was great. People can bitch all they want. I was there for 2 dares and one night half empty after one full. The single day race was packed because it was only 1 day. And I would agree with that. I would absolutely agree with that. Minnesota, that area, there's a reason they have like 4 races on that schedule. They know what works. They tried the every week thing or tried the bigger schedule and it didn't work. And again, I'll go back to the racing. There's been times it wasn't good racing. It was great the one day. They had a good crowd from everything that I was told, and they knocked it out of the park. I just, sometimes less is more, and this might be one of those cases. Why was Donnie Schatz pissed off at Carson Macedo, or what was he pissed off for? I didn't think Carson did anything wrong the other night. I don't either. I don't think this is a big deal. I don't think this was a big deal at all. I think Donnie probably didn't see him coming in there. And I think he just let him know that after the race because it was close. But I don't think it was even big deal. I don't think this was a big deal at all. It wasn't even enough for me to even acknowledge it. I struggle with Rico's inconsistencies. He doesn't forget how to drive, and lately he has had major speed issues. With a Hall of Fame crew chief, I'm perplexed as how they can miss the setup so badly. That's a good question. I don't know if it's missing the setup. I don't know if it's not timing well. And then you get buried in these. I mean, Justin Sanders didn't make the A main at Thunderbolt. I would have never bet that could happen. So I think, and he didn't time well. I think if you don't time well at these races, you're in trouble. You could run back there. And I think Rico's struggling in qualifying right now. And I don't think it makes him, I think he's still good. And I think he could still win that title. You know, David Gravel does well because he has 18 quick time awards. 18. The next closest guy is 5. So you got to time well. You got to put yourself in position in these races. And Rico has struggled in qualifying lately since really Eldora. He had his second at Lernerville and a second at the Cappy. And then it's been a struggle. Will the 14 car be a Chico with Jeff Barnes? I'm not sure. I don't think he can race with him. I think he's 15. Is he 15? Lauda might be able to clue. I think he's 15. And I don't think that he can run with him yet. Unless he gets an exemption. I thought when Rico caused the wreck this weekend that caused Dominic Selze to flip, should have sent him to the back. Yeah, I mean, maybe. But then that's a judgment call as well. And you start doing that. If somebody gets sideways in a corner and somebody comes in and flips, are you going to put the guy who got sideways in the corner back, even though he didn't stop? I think that's a slippery slope. Gold Cup sneaker pick is Tanner Thorson, and he said this is the race he wants the most. I don't think he's a sneaky pick. He's won there before. He's won a prelim there. So I think he's a guy you definitely watch. Sneaky, I think a sneaky pick is, I think Tanner Holmes is more of a sneaky pick than Tanner Thorson. I think Landon Brooks is a sneaky pick. Maybe the W car gets rolling. Those are sneaky picks. Thorson, I think, is one of the, if you list 5 guys who can win that race, I think Tanner Thorson's in maybe 5th, maybe 6th on that list. Tanner Holmes or Casey Kane wins Gold Cup. Ooh, spicy take there. I already made my picks. Let's see. I should wait till I release them tomorrow on YouTube because Ryan and I picked. I got painted in a little bit of a box because we can only pick a guy once, so I can't double up. I took Reitzel to win the Gold Cup, even though he's only been there once. But I took Rico out of the gate because Ryan took Reitzel. I think Rico's going to bounce back this week, so I couldn't take him in the last one. I wouldn't be surprised if Rico wins the Gold Cup this week. How many different dirt tracks have you been to? Oh God. I haven't really sat down. Probably, I don't know. Probably 30, 40, something like that. My younger years, I was in Central PA and we have so much racing that I got to tracks in New York, up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, New Jersey. So it might be 50, something like that. Sneaky picks, Dominic Gordon or Chance Grasty. Also spicy picks, especially Chance Grasty. Like it. How many now defunct tracks have you been to? Come on now. East Windsor, probably the best track that isn't in existence anymore that I've been to. East Windsor in New Jersey. Penn National. Penn National was really good for modifieds. I think those two top the list. But there's been a few. Were you bold when you were young too? I don't think I'm bold. I'm just honest. But yes, my dad always said to me that I'm going to get in trouble. I'm not trying to be controversial. I just say what I think. Were you bald? Oh, that's an A. No, I had hair. I had a lot of hair as a teenager. I thought you said bald. No, I was I had hair. Yeah, it all went to pot in my 30s, I guess. Probably when I started working at the newspaper. Golubic sneaky. Now that one, yes, that very much, because he can put himself in position by being consistent the first two nights. I could see him being a top 5 car Saturday as well. Just joining, and sorry if I missed it. Is Corey Day racing Gold Cup? No. I think his next race in a sprint car, if he does it, will be World Finals. Can Hod challenge Gravel for the 2027 Woo title? Well, he can. Let's see how Hod ends this year. But sure. I mean, yes, he can. Is it the track or is it the depth of talent, knowledge, level of car setups, the budget of the team? You need money, motor on half-mile straightaways. I think you need a good situation. You've got to have everything in place. You don't win these races just showing up and waving a magic wand. I think you need a good situation. I think there's an element of luck involved, whether it's pulling a pill or maybe somebody braking in front of you. Things have to align. And it's because these guys are in such a tight box now with these cars, which I wish they would somehow figure it out where they're not. I know this is beating a dead horse. Not many know this, but a lot of 410 teams were almost out of fuel on Saturday's 30 lapper. We had 3 gallons left with starting a full tank of 28 gallons. $5 laps on a half-mile rule was set in the late 90s. Well, these engines have like 250 more horsepower, and when the air is good, these engines sink fuel. I know Dietrich coasted across the line. There were cars that were, and there was a caution up there. Some thought it should have been thrown before the end of the race. If that would have happened, Dietrich wouldn't have won. Now, I don't know where everything was when the yellow should have been thrown. I was in turn 4. But yeah, these motors do suck up more fuel than they used to. And I think that has to be accounted for. Now, Sean, use a 33-gallon tank. You and I talked about this on the deep dive. I'm just giving you a hard time. Daryl on line 2. Daryl, how are you?
I'm good, Jeremy. I'm not positive, but I thought I heard Corey say that Placerville was his last sprint car race of the year.
Yeah, I thought he said that too. And then somebody said he might run World Finals if he can because it's after the NASCAR season. But I think that's going to depend if Jason Myers wants to do it. But yeah, no, he was I knew he wasn't running the rest of the West Coast swing.
Yeah, he's not going to run Gold Cup, and
Nope.
We already knew that. But I think for some reason I heard him say at Placerville that was his last sprint car ride of the year. But after that wreck, Mr. Hendrick might tell him that's it, buddy, get out.
I don't think so.
You never know.
I don't think so. I think Jeff Gordon calls the shots, and I think Corey Day. I know everybody's worried that Corey Day is going to get bounced out of NASCAR. I don't believe that. I think they have a plan for him. there's a lot of moving parts at
Well,
Hendrick, so he'll be a part of it.
I heard that he came home with an attitude, realizing that he wasn't going to get in that cup ride after they, hired Zillage. And I heard he was pissed off when he came home, and maybe that's why he was driving a little wild the first night he got home.
I thought he drives like that all the time. I didn't notice anything different. I think Corey needs a little more seasoning. And I think when he sits down and looks at it for the cup stuff, Hendrick's not going to just willy-nilly this. They're going to bring him along. And I think if he listens,
Of course they do.
If he listens and just follows the plan, he'll be fine. It's going to make a lot of money.
I agree with you, but I heard he came home with a little attitude, and then the last 2 nights he mellowed out a little bit because he wanted to shit up the first night.
Yeah, I'm sure Jason didn't like that.
Yeah, well, that's what I heard through the grapevine, So I get to hang out with a couple people that might know a little something, but that's what I heard.
No.
But it's always nice talking to you, buddy. You have a great show and keep it up.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a good day.
Yep. Bye-bye. Jeremy needs to show us a picture of him with hair. There's very few pictures floating around of me, but I'll see if I can get a hold of one. Are you going to the shootout or Chili Bowl this year? No. No. Jeremy is sponsoring the flip count at the Chili Bowl. No, I'm not. No way. Jeremy, at least Penn State's not playing at home against the Tusky this year. I think that race would do okay anyway. They're going to play the Baptist School of the Blind earlier in the year because that's normally what they do up there. But my shot at Penn State. But no, the Tuscarora 50s in good standing this year as far as football is concerned. Is the W card now a penalty box? Not yet. Come on. It's not. The last time that car was out, before that, it won Skagit. So we can't say that. It's premature. Lauda, come on. Landon Brooks says Kyle Hurst and Steve Tyner for coaching and car setup. Obviously, it's paying off. I know watching the broadcast, Kyle Hurst, I think those two guys, they got Anthony Macri up to speed really quick at the Trophy Cup when he went out and ran their car. I think they know what they're doing, and I think that's helped Landon Brooks a lot. So we'll see if they can carry it over into the Gold Cup. There's clearly been an uptick in Kane's performance, but we're not comparing him to Day or Larson. Kane says he contributes it to the fill-in time for Macri. Yes, that's correct. I wrote about that twice now over the last month. Casey, pretty much all of it goes to that. He said working with Joe, getting coaching from Anthony. He talked about that. And the package they have, he's tried to duplicate with the 4-car. It's going to take time to get that feel. It just doesn't automatically happen. So I'm interested to see how Kane does the rest of the year. I'm just this whole big turnaround, like, oh my God, now it's this history-making shift. I'm not there yet. Is Sugar Bear contracted to only do your race day live shows? I don't know what he's doing. He has business to get done, I guess. He's working. Thoughts on Aaron driving a late model at Gateway this December? I really don't have many. Good for him. Good luck. I don't know if he's ever been in one. And I don't know. I don't have many thoughts on that. Caleb shines in his car, seems to struggle in any other car. I guess. I mean, I don't know if, it seems like this W car thing was planned. Doesn't seem like it was attached to what happened at Santa Maria. We'll see this week. It's another week. He gets 3 cracks at it. And then I think if he's going to race at Skagit, I think he would be in his car, but I don't know if he's going up there. Kane's winning outlaw race is like Derek Cope winning Daytona 500. Okay. Tanner Holmes closing in on Madsen for 8th in the points. He is. There's still more work to be done there. It's going to be interesting once they get to Port. The split now is 65 points, still a decent amount. Kerry's got to get out of. He didn't make an A main the other night, and that was bad. But then he came back and finished 10th at Placerville, I believe. It's going to be a good battle down to the end for that 8th spot, and Kerry's got to get it for them to have any chance at a franchise. He's got to finish in the top 8 this year and next year. Rico bought the wrong engine manufacturer. I mean, he used Speedways before. I don't see that that's a big deal. TJ Stutz looked like he was heading for a much more successful career when he took over the Beam 88 to start 2006. He won the first 2 races at Sealands Grove back when fields were full there. It's not continued. Yeah, TJ, again, it's easy to go. Well, I shouldn't say easy, but it's easy to get 3 or 5 races that are really good and then go back to normal. So you got to, for a turnaround, it's got to be a little better than that. It's got to be more sustainable. On Monday's 90 at 9, you mentioned Danny Dietrich has a Wood racing engine. What can you tell us about Wood racing engines? That's not a company we hear about often. It's out of Kokomo. I believe Bernie Stubgen uses them. I don't know a ton about them. I know the 71 car has them in, and it's out of Kokomo, Indiana. I don't know if Parker Price Miller's stepdad owns it or not. I'm not 100% sure on that. Jeremy, I saw that Ryan Newman was testing at a Glenn Steyer's 410 wing sprint car at Merrittville Speedway. Is Ryan going to come into sprint car racing soon? I think it's just spot duty. He ran the World of Outlaws event up there. Again, I could see him doing it on, just a part-time fun basis. Who is currently the best crew chief in the country? That's a tough call. I still think Ricky Warner and Davey Brown and those guys are, I don't think they've lost anything. Ricky has some health issues, and obviously Davey's 90, but watching Davey get around the pit area is amazing. I think they're still the best guys. I just think situations change, and obviously Cody Jacobs is good. Dylan Boswell is good. Philip Dietz is really good. Paul Silva is good. I still think Eric Prutzman's really good. I think there's guys out there, and Joe Mooney. I think Joe Mooney's really, really good, and I think he's in those discussions. But to pick one over the other is very, very difficult at this point. Wood is owned by Scott Runk. That, yes, took one of the main guys at Speedway and some of the employees. That's what I thought. That is Parker Price Miller's, stepdad. And they just started Wood racing engines. Do you think Danny Dietrich really hit on something or just had the cards fall his way last weekend? Tough question. Obviously, we'll see more this week. I like that he came from 8th at the Grove. I like that he passed Chase Dietz twice to win. They weren't circumstantial, is what I'm saying. He didn't start on the pole and just run away. So that's a very interesting question, and I don't think we know yet. I think we'll know more this weekend and next weekend. But I do think that they've been doing a lot of mixing and matching. They have one of those wood racing engines, has a rider. He's messing around with 2 different wings, Elite and Titan. I do think that they've been putting in some time, changing some things. So I think it's yet to be determined if he actually hit on something, but he had speed at Knoxville. He timed 7th. Obviously, starting 7th in the heat race is the worst place to start. And then at that point in the B main, with other guys not making it through, he ended up 5th in the B main on his qualifying night. And then Saturday was just such a cluster. You can't really base anything on that. So I do think he had some speed at Knoxville. I think the jury's still out, but it's a very good question. If anything, Danny Dietrich has proven this year is that you can, in fact, pass in a sprint car. Danny Dietrich always can race. He might not be able to time trial worth anything, but he can race. That's for sure. Is Kane buying Macri out? Not that I know of. I haven't heard anything like that. It seems Gravel's more interested in chocolate milk and sports cards lately. Yeah, I guess you watched the video that Cody Jacobs was on from Huset's. I believe Chaz put that out, and not a good look. Not a good look, but I think Gravel's just fine. 10 wins, leading the World of Outlaws points by 180, and he's the leading money winner in the country. I don't know what more you want. Good question. Never gave it a thought. How important are wings? I think they're very important. I think there's subtle construction differences with all of them. It's a better question for Ryan Hand on our weekly podcast. We go to the mailbag a lot, and some of the questions are for me, some for him. He'd be better to ask that too, but I do think they're important. And I think if you went back to dish wings, which I'm in favor of, because guys I talk to, a lot of people say you can move around more with a dish wing, but with the tires the way they are, I mean, is it a combination of the two? That I don't know, but I'm a proponent of dish wings according to some of the guys I've talked to. So yeah, I think they make a difference. Sorry if you already answered this. Is anyone going to sub in for the 39M? I'm not sure yet. Leave it go at that. Danny driving a J&J was not on my bingo, or Donnie driving a J&J was not on my bingo card in 2026. Not surprised at all. I had a discussion today with somebody in the Midwest about that. I'm not surprised. When you're struggling, you got to throw stuff at it. I mean, he's done the bulk of his winning in a J&J, so I'm not surprised. What's your current top women's sprint car drivers? Wow. Current? I don't know of many now. I know I see a bunch of them in the Midwest, but I don't see them enough. And they're not winning, so it makes it really, really difficult to answer that. That wouldn't be a question I could answer right now. I have to see them. And then you got 360s, 410s, and I can't answer that. John on line 3. John, how are you?
Good. How about you, Jeremy?
Not too bad.
And I had a question for you. That's the silver or the Silver Dollar Speedway,
Yes.
the Gold Cup.
Yes. Yes.
Is that the one? Is that the race where they time you use motocross scoring for, you run three nights and you add the points up off the first 2 nights, and that determines where you start. And then the driver with the most points wins the whole deal. Wins the lion's share.
No. It's, you mean like Trophy Cup? No, it'll be points the first 2 nights, and you'll do your lineups. But whoever wins Saturday's main event gets $100,000.
Okay.
Yes.
Somewhere, one of those races out there, they do that.
Trophy Cup.
Because they won it, and he didn't win a race. I don't think he won a race the whole 3 nights. I don't think he won an event.
No, it's Trophy
Cup.
Does
big
that.
Money at the. Oh, that's the Trophy Cup.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yes.
That's right. Okay. I just wanted to get that straight in my head because I hate that scoring system. You go home with the big money and you didn't win anything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I get it.
That's the way they do it. So.
Yep.
That's the way they do it. So whatever. All right. That's all I had for tonight.
All right, John. Thank you.
Have a good weekend.
You do the same.
Yep.
All right. What else do we got here? Have you noticed that Logan Schuchart is closing in on Carson Macedo in points? I have noticed that. The win on Saturday night was his second in his last 6 starts, starting to get more consistent, timing better, and a little surprised. Carson Macedo's been kind of up and down. They've been going through the motor situation. Now, Carson's also streaky. I could see him this week. He's going to River Cities. Kofoid and Carson Macedo, those are your best bets at River Cities. They split the last 4 events, I think, up there. Carson can go on a run as good as anybody. He's done that many times in his career. California, I think, is going to kind of be that, what happens there could determine if Logan catches them. It's a good battle. I wish there was a battle up top, but there isn't. But Carson has had problems this year. And again, it's timing. He's not timing well all the time. Race is okay. It's not timing well. We'll see if that continues or if he can kind of get on a run here. Rumor has it that they're putting a 1/3 mile track at the half-mile Dodge County Fairgrounds outside of Beaver Dam. Would be awesome. This area misses its racing. I was at Beaver Dam. It's a shame that's gone. Nice facility, raced well. So hopefully that's true and they bring racing back to that area. Dason Pursley or Tanner Holmes, who comes out ahead in high limit points this year? Dason's got the dream gig at KKR while Tanner's in the Book ride and looking to prove the media wrong. I don't think he's proven the media wrong. I think a lot of people love Tanner Holmes. But Tanner Holmes is in a better situation. KKR, you still got a first-year crew chief who came over from Keith Coons. I don't think that's a better situation. I think they're learning on the fly here. But I think Tanner Holmes will finish at what's the currently Tanner Holmes is up by 68 points. I think Tanner Holmes will finish ahead of him in points. Most obscure 410 scene in the country: Butler, Farmington, Grand Forks /NOSA. Everybody knows River Cities. Johnny Gibson just keeps pumping that out. So I'm not going to, I'd say Farmington Empire. I think that's probably the most obscure. Any word about Flo getting Knoxville Nationals? Not yet. I think that is still a open contract. They're probably, I would assume, discussing offers from Flo and Dirt Vision, and I don't expect to hear anything about that. I don't know, till after the season. Do any local NOSA MSTS 410s have a chance to snag one from the Outlaws this weekend? 0.0 chance. No way. They won't even finish in the top 5. If you were going to promote Pennsylvania Speed Week and it was 7 races at 7 different tracks, what will your Speed Week look like? Do I have to go to 7 different tracks? If I have to go to 7 different ones, obviously you have the big 4. You have Lincoln, Port Royal, Baps, Williams Grove. There's 4. I'd go to Grandview. I'd go to Hagerstown. And I know it's not in Pennsylvania, but it races well. And then I'd probably go to Sealands Grove. It'd be those 7. But, and I do want to stress, but I would shift it around. Port Royal would end it on a Saturday night. Audrey Larson will be winning 410 races in 10, 15 years. Okay. I don't know if she'll be in a 410 in 10 or 15 years. She might be somewhere else. What's been up with Wogman? You think it's driver or team related? I don't think it's anything. I think if you look at his stats, I don't think his win total, not far off last year. His consistency's down a little concerned about that. The Clinton County thing was disturbing, but his average finish last year was 7.1. It's 8.6 this year. He has 5 less top 5s. He's probably going to get that. 2 less wins. The top 10s are down. They're down 17. He's not going to reach that. So I just think it's, maybe some mechanical bugs that have taken him out of some races, taken him out of contention. I don't think there's anything glaringly wrong there. His stats aren't way, way off last year as far as wins and top 5 finishes. He can win at the Grove this week, and he's right on pace with everything. So except top 10s. I just think it's just sometimes you have more mechanical things go wrong or get caught in other people's stuff. And then that takes top 10s away. The lack of competent crew chief is not just in sprint car racing. The lack of competent crew chiefs is not just in sprint cars. This is the world about the late models too. There's 5 really good ones out there. I think I'm not going to say there's 5 good ones and everybody else is terrible. I'm not going to say that. I still think Barry Jackson's good. I still think there's guys out there who are good. It's just when you're comparing your upper tier guys and then your next tier, it's just tiering it. It's like a pyramid. So is Larson going to be ranked number 1? He might be in my next rankings, and then he'll drop off just because of number of races. Because I do a percentage of the races you got to run. But I'm pretty sure he'll probably be number 1 when I do it this week or next week. Daytona Speedway Tour is probably one of the best $26 I've ever spent. I'd like to take it. I just usually don't have time. When I'm down there, I should probably make time to do that. What is high limit format for Skagit? Same as Gold Cup? I would assume. I assume they do points, lines up the last night, and we go from there. Probably heat race lineups, I would think, and then go through the program. Right now, who's your posse pick to beat the Outlaws at the National Open? Right now, Dietz. If if a posse guy is going to win, I'll say Dietz right now because I don't know if Macari's going to be back. So Dietz. Prediction for where Logan will finish the season in outlaw points. 5th. I think he finishes 5th. Jackson Motorplex put on a great show. Track prep produced 2 grooves. Very happy for the historic track and the people involved. Agreed. Great race. Great race. Don't look at the box score. It'll say Logan Schuchart started on the pole and he won. Don't do that. You got to watch the race. It was really good. Jeremy, you must have been to 50 plus tracks. You should do a deep dive on that. I'm not going to talk about myself in a deep dive. I think next week I'm going to be on Hoagie's Garage. Either next week or the following week. How about Manzanita? I was never at Manzanita, but yes, a good track. Historic track. Mark says poor showing at Placerville. Justin Peck has some strong runs and has moved ahead of Marks in the high limit standings. I noticed that, and you mentioned it was mentioned earlier about Gio Scelzi, quiet, his quiet assault on the top of the high limit standings. How about Justin Peck's? People say how bad he's been, and here he is moving up the high limit standings. Found some consistency this year a little bit. Needs to win more races, obviously. That's something every team's looking for. But I think Justin Peck, I'm not worried about that ride for next year. Did you double check your 50-50 tickets from Knoxville? Still unclaimed $40,000. I didn't buy one the final night. I didn't buy one. I probably should have. Silver Crown this past weekend was one of the sketchier races in recent memory. What would you consider a recent or not so recent sketchy winged sprint car race? Mansfield's had a couple. I think, and it wasn't under the current ownership. I'm talking about, there's that legendary picture of Jack Hodenshield in the 6 car coming through the dust out of turn 4. I don't know how you race that. I just don't. I think there's tracks that are sketchy around the country, and these series continue to go there. That's why I say it's safety of convenience. I don't really like talking about safety anymore because I beat that drum for years. Nobody listens. So, but I do think, racing when it's like misting and stuff, I think it's ludicrous. These cars go too fast. I've seen this a number of times where we're racing in the rain. I don't get it. I just don't get it. What do you think about different wings for qualifying? I have no thoughts on it. I'm okay with it. It doesn't bother me either way. It's not a hill that I'm going to die on, or I don't like taking technology out of it. I think that's one of the reasons we're in the box we're in with tires and other things. I just think there's too much of a box, and every time somebody develops something, they outlaw it. So I'm okay with it. Doesn't bother me. And then there's guys also who, whether they're painted or not, they're not pulling out a silver wing, and they time just fine. In 2006, March at Selinsgrove, the backstretch froze over during the evening and into the sprint car feature. It was sketchy. Yeah, I don't agree. Gravel doesn't do much if he doesn't start in the front row. I've seen him win from the second, third row. I don't buy that. You're not picking the front row for a 180 point lead in the points and double digit wins for how many years? I just think that's low hanging fruit. I've seen him win from other places. The front row challenge every year is teams running out of fuel during the last few laps. Yeah. I also think it's one of the more entertaining races of the week. It's been that way now 4 or 5 years, it seems like, where it's been a real entertaining race, but it's a big track, and I don't disagree. Fuel becomes an issue. Speaking of women sprint car drivers, did Beverly Thompson, Len's mom, and Mikey's grandma ever drive a sprint car in the early 90s? Yes, Bev Thompson did drive a sprint car. Jody Robinson was pretty sporty. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of names in here. They just weren't current drivers. They're not current. Yeah, I remember Sarah Fisher. I thought she did rather well. Erin Crocker, I believe she has an outlaw prelim win. I think there's a number of people who have been decent, and Avedisian when she ran, but now she's on asphalt. So it's just currently we don't seem to have as many. Wings have definitely been made a lot lighter and flimsy. Years ago, cars would flip and the wings stayed intact. Today they disintegrate. Yeah, they definitely absorb. They still absorb the energy of the crash, though. And that's the important thing. I'm not overly worried about the safety of the wings. There's many more places to start than that. Jeremy, who will pick up wins at Chico? I think Rico gets one. I think Marks gets one. And I'm going to pick it up. I'm going to take Sanders to win one. I have Reitzel, but I was kind of playing for top 5 there. Just because of the way it snaked. I used to love rooting for Becca Anderson back in the day. Yes, she ran URC. She did well there. Would have liked to have seen Jade Avedisian in a 410. Probably the most talented female dirt driver I've seen. Yeah, she was good. She's good. I'd be anxious to see if she progresses here on asphalt. Deep dive, Wade Onger. I did that already, I believe. Did it a year ago. It's on the YouTube page. Will Rico be able to get back on track for the high limit championship? Yeah, I'm not concerned yet. I mean, obviously being 61 points behind Aaron Reitzel isn't ideal, but he's going to Skagit. He's going to Silver Dollar, which he knows, and he's going to Skagit, which he knows. He has lots of laps at both of them. He's won at both of them. I think it's wide open, but Rico can still make up a lot of ground. And things can happen at Port Royal. He's really good at Port Royal, too. There's tracks on this schedule coming up. There's 20 races left. 10 of them are in the next 3 weeks. Half of them in 3 weeks. So he definitely can make up ground. Why is there so much more money in late model races, considering me ignorant? I think there's more late model racers. I think there's more fans. I think there's, I just think they're bigger events. I think the Knoxville Nationals for 410s is the biggest dirt track race in the world. And yes, that includes the World 100. I'm sorry. It is. It's international, the Knoxville Nationals. But late model racing does pay better. You don't even have to run with the series and you can make a living. Now, the same can be said for here, but you're going to run sanctioned races. it just, there's more people, there's more cars. I think there's more interest. Are you anticipating any additional NASCAR money in high limit next year? I don't think so. I think there's another franchise that could be sold, but I don't think it's going to be to NASCAR guys. So I don't think next year. I put Kaylee Bryson ahead of Jade. Ooh, that's ballsy. That's ballsy in a sprint car. I wouldn't. Not in a sprint car. Aaron won a Woo show at Tulare. Bryson won a USAC Silver Crown race at Belleville. That's great. Silver Crown is in a sprint car. Silver Crown. Pick one driver that has had the most disappointing 2026. So far, Dietrich won 2 last week, but I would say before last week, I'd say Danny Dietrich. Anthony Macri, not because his fault, it's just injuries. You never want to see that. I would have never predicted he was going to be out for 18 weeks, which is what it could be. But that's for different reasons. Disappointing who's run all year. That's tough. I would have still said Danny Dietrich. I still would have said Danny Dietrich before. I mean, he won last week. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else who I can think of. Courtney's come around, but I thought he would do better this year. Carson Macedo's been under what he normally is. So I think those 3 guys, you can make an argument for each. Brian Brown. Obviously still dealing with that injury, but Brian Brown. I'd say Brian. I thought I didn't know that I thought that wrist was healed at the end of last year, but that didn't somebody said Baylog off the track stuff, I think has contributed to that, but probably Brown. Personally, I expected to struggle this year. Thought he'd be better in the second half, but Sorry I'm Late was singing Jolene. I don't know what that means, and maybe don't want to know what that means. Shots. No, he's better than last year. His numbers say that, but I didn't expect him to be off the charts. Raymer, possibly. Yeah. Is Steve O'Neill doing consulting work for Sealands Grove? I don't think he's doing consulting work, but I do think he talks to him. I think if they need, I know they have a good relationship, and I know they're working together. I don't think it's where he has money in it. Sarah Fisher was pretty good. Yep. I noticed Woo now has 2 crash data recorders on cars, one on the chassis like before, and now a second one in the seat. Will we ever hear of Woo has learning anything from the recorders? Probably, I don't know. They're not transparent with stuff. They're just not. They'll keep it in-house. You'll see some subtle changes, and they'll say data recorder information has taught us XYZ. That's what I think will happen. I don't think it'll be released to the public. No. They're just not transparent with that stuff. As Kerry Madsen talked about retiring, you just don't see many drivers his age still racing. What's he, 56? Something like that. Let's see how close of a guess I am on that. He is 54. I think there's a lot of drivers still out there who are. No, I've not heard anything about retiring. Jeremy, do you think owners selling their high limit franchise will be an annual occurrence? No, I think there's your back half or situationally it'll happen. You'll have years where there's two, and then you'll have years where there'll be none. I think it's going to be fluid. Is Kerry Madsen the oldest full timer? Yes. Yes. I don't think there's anybody who's, because Balog's in his 40s, Schatz is in his 40s. So, yes, he is the oldest. You'd be a good interview with Tony Laporta, Couches That Made Us. I would do it. I would do it with Tony. I think those things are good. I've listened to a couple of them. Do you think Schatz's next win will be one of the nights at World Finals? No. I think he can win before that. Jeremy, great show as usual. Thanks, producer Eric. Night, gents. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yeah, we'll be off here in about 7 minutes. I got to make a couple racing calls. Got to get the 90 at 9 done. I don't know what I'm doing it on yet, which it could be based on one of those phone calls. As very few as it was and currently is, it was cool as a kid watching Judy Bates and Christine Carnes racing every week at Port. Yeah, I remember those days. You must be as old as I am. Almost. Is Jeremy really the Grand Marshal of the Gold Cup Bikini Contest? No. As much as I busted on the Outlaws for the incompetence on Friday night, I need to give them props on how phenomenal Jackson was on Saturday night. Best Jackson track I've seen in 10, 15 years. The Outlaws don't control that. I know people want to think they do. They do not. Those props go to Jackson. Very few times do these series come in and dictate track conditions. Did Mike Wagner retire? Yes or no? I think that's one of those where he's just kind of riding off into the sunset and not saying either way. Are Corey Day and Kyle Larson done racing sprint cars for the rest of the year due to NASCAR schedule? Yes. Jeremy, if Johnny Gibson retired and you were asked to pick the replacement, who would be your choice? Mine is Tony Laporta. The guy I would pick, and I know he wouldn't do it because he wouldn't go on the road, would be Dave Hare, the announcer at Babs Motor Speedway. I think he's one of the best in the business. Who will be the next to sell a franchise? CJB? Don't know yet. I think that everything's up in the air. I think everything's up in the air because of the injury, everything. So I'm not really sure on that. 98.9 Story is telling us who's racing the CJB5 at Port. I don't know if they have anybody yet. Because they're looking for somebody for the whole year. They don't want to be switching seats out every week. I know that's the goal. Now, whether they get that, I don't know. Do you think the PA Posse Series will continue after this year's? Pros and cons. I think it'll continue. The pros, I better start with the cons. The cons, okay. The pros are somebody's going to win $50,000 and it pays back to 15th. I think 15th gets $3,000. That's the only pro in my opinion. I don't think it's been a huge relevant thing to fans. I don't think they care. I think there's too many races. I think it handcuffs tracks a little bit with their scheduling. And this is where I was wrong. Before, I always said, hey, scale back your schedule, have specials. The problem is, if you get rain, you're in jail. Like you could go a month and a half without racing. That isn't good. That means you're irrelevant. So I was wrong in that regard. I do think you need to supplement your racing schedule with other events. BAPS does a great job with this, with the carnival, other events going on at the track, Lantern Fest. I know Lincoln this week had a motocross deal that I heard did okay. So I think the scheduling has to be better. I think the scheduling's atrocious. I think it's too many races. I think they've done a bad job promoting it. I think they've done a really bad job promoting it. I don't think fans are interested in it. I've never walked into a track, whether I was in the pit area or I was in the fan area, where somebody said, man, this series, this is really, I'm anxious to see who wins this week to move up in point. Nothing. So, and the crowds haven't been overly great either. And you have your $30 price tag on it, which is $5 more than when you saw the same guys the previous week. So I think there's a lot of cons. The only pro is Chase Dietz is going to get paid $50,000. That's your pro. And the guy who's 15th is getting $3,000. That's fine. But everything else is a con. They got to clean it up. They got to find a better mechanism or a better platform. And they got to promote it. It has not been promoted well at all. Sorry, it hasn't. Do you think lack of transparency on tracks and or series with the fans is a hurt to the end? Yeah, I think a lack of transparency is terrible for tracks and series, especially series, because there's no reason for it. There's no reason for it. Nobody's going to judge you harshly. This isn't rocket science. Just be honest. We're the most forgiving country in the world. I don't understand the lack of transparency. But that's the way they choose to do it. Does BAPS have a point fund for 410s this year? No, they do not, because of the series that took that away. I think there's Port has one. Williams Grove has a scaled back one. I think Lincoln might have a scaled down one, but they're not what they were, which they weren't good to begin with, except the Grove. BAPS was good for the number of races because it was only 10 races and it matched Lincoln and Port Royal, who ran all year. So I definitely think, again, a drawback to the series. But no, BAPS does not have one this year. I spoke to Natalie Jackson yesterday, and they have no idea who's going to be in that car yet. I'm not surprised. Both cars are racing. Who do you put in it? Deals. There aren't a lot of guys out there right now who are available, who aren't tied up, and you just don't want to put anybody in it. And again, they don't really want to be switching seats every week. So I can understand why it's difficult. Jeremy is open to change and learning the best ways. I'm always open to change. Don't be rigid. That's not how you're successful. Can't be rigid. I'll take 3 more questions. I do not know Dolly Parton. I'm not a country music fan at all. At all. Jeremy, no high limit. Specifically, Sweet dictated the track conditions at Red Cedar and Superior this year pretty heavily. Yes, there's times they step in when it maybe doesn't look good or there's problems. Texas is a perfect example. Mike Hess went down to Texas early and helped them with their racing surface because they were having problems. Yes, there are times they do, but not often. It's not like they say, okay, we're coming to your track. We're going to dictate the track conditions. That does not happen anymore. So it's very sparse, and it's usually when there's a problem. Dave Hare is the best out there. I agree. I think Dave Hare is the best announcer in the game. With all due respect to everybody else, I do think Dave Hare is one of the best. I think Chase Rodman's gotten a lot better. Johnny's still good. I think I have all the respect in the world for the infield guys because you don't know when it's getting thrown to you. Connor Wade and Tony LaPorta do a good job. It's not easy when you don't have a script, you don't have notes in front of you, you don't know when it's getting kicked to you, you don't know if you're going to have to fill time. Whereas the guy in the booth has a bunch of notes. It is tough being an infield guy. Now I also know, but I'm a big Dave Hare guy. Big Dave Hare guy. Thoughts on Lance DeWeese lately? Hasn't been good. Passed a lot of cars Saturday. The track got dry slick, and that's when he's at his best. I don't know what the issue is there. I don't know if it's motors. I don't know what's going on. They just haven't been good lately. I'm not really sure what the issue is there. I don't know if they need a crew chief. Not really sure. All right, guys, that's a wrap on the questions. I apologize if we didn't get to your question or comment. Got to make some calls. Can't be on here all night. But again, thank you to everybody who joined the show. Appreciate it. Thank you to the guys who called in. And we'll be back on Saturday with a race day live show. Hopefully nobody's moving races around to where we can do it before the races. And then we'll be back next week with another live show. Stay tuned.